Hello and welcome to Senior Speak New Hampshire on your Concord TV. My regular viewers know who I am, but for someone who may have just found us, I am Karen Ulmer-Dorsch, the producer-host of this program that is sponsored by AARP, and I'm a volunteer. This program focuses on the health, wealth, and self of our 50-year and older individuals. And I thank you for joining us today, regardless of whatever age you are. Before we begin our topic today, I want to make a correction that occurred last month when we were discussing Alzheimer's 10 warning signs. And Melissa Grenier mentioned a contact number where viewers could reach out for help. If you tuned in early in the month, you may have noticed that that number was not there. So I want to give it to you now. It is 800-272-3900. We later corrected this, but in case you wanted to find it and you weren't able to, it's there now, and we apologize for this omission. Many of us identify February as the month of romance and love, and you only need to step into almost any business today to see that comment confirmed, because of all of the hearts and the candies and the flowers and the paraphernalia available for purchase to win the heart of a loved one. However, for me, February is the month when I began to consider my annual travels. And I try and escape from winter by doing that. My annual travels is my greatest love and romance. And as I approach the age of 85, also a February event, I realized that my usual method of hopping on a plane, renting a car, and taking off all by myself probably has come to an end, because there are many countries that won't rent a car to a foreigner my age. So when I began to explore group travel, I became absolutely overwhelmed by the information that I found and had no idea how to go about finding one that would fit me. And this became a big concern. And then I realized it probably was a big concern for others, my viewers, for example, who might also have this problem. And because this program focuses on the issues that it does, I began to look for someone who might be able to help us in our efforts to continue to travel and enjoy it as we age. Once again, opportunity knocked, as it always does if we're open to it. And last August at the Silver Linings Expo in Manchester, I attended an enlightening presentation on group travel by Kelly Cook, an experienced guide and traveler herself. And she answered many of the questions about just how to select the right tour and that meets one's needs, regardless of what age one is or whatever means of travel one chooses. And as I listened to her message, I knew that it was one that my Senior Speak viewers would find really very useful. And I invited her to be my guest and share this information with you. I'm delighted to say that she agreed to do this, and she's with us today to take us on this informative journey. Kelly, it is so great to see you again, and thanks for taking time from your busy travels to be with us today. Let's start in by your telling us a little bit about yourself so that our viewers are aware of your extensive travel experiences and your expertise in group travel.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's great to see you again, and happy early birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe birthday by the time this airs. I'm really happy to be here and excited to kind of share what I've learned over the years. So my background, I have over 25 years in the travel industry. I started out as a travel agent and then soon after began leading group tours for the company that I worked for. Since then, I've worked for some larger national companies, smaller tour operators that are more local, but also I traveled a lot with my dad on group tours. So my very first trip that I ever took, and what kind of made my whole love of travel, like you said, it probably is my first love, was a trip to Europe when I was in high school. So that was a group tour, and I still have friends from that tour today. So I kind of have a little bit of knowledge from all of it, from being a travel agent selling it, to being a tour guide on the road, to being a traveler myself, and by owning a company. So yeah, kind of all the different parts of it.
That's great. Okay, so start right in and tell us.
Yeah, so first of all, I think part of it is also trying to kind of share a little bit of my philosophy about why I think group tours are so beneficial. For me, it's all about having fun, definitely making new friends, relaxing and enjoying the moments because you can, and just kind of making sure that you take it all in. So that's part of my philosophy when it comes to group travel.
Mine too.
Yeah. And one of the biggest things that I've encountered over my 25 plus years is those preconceived notions. The notions of a group tour, and people, especially when you think of a bus tour, you know, people think about kind of being dragged from one attraction to another, really hectic schedules and early mornings. I think there's that classic, again, preconceived notion that you're going to be stuck on a bus with a bunch of grumpy old people. And I know that. I know that that's a preconceived notion, but it's not the case. It really isn't the case. And there's so many options available. So kind of trying to get rid of those old preconceived notions. So for me, I think some of the biggest benefits to group travel, especially for your listeners, and for people that, like me, I was traveling, you know, with my dad. And it was a great way for me to be able to share in the experience with him. First and foremost, when you're joining any kind of group tour, somebody else is doing all the planning. You're not doing the planning. I know on trips when I traveled alone with my dad and we weren't on a tour, I was the navigator, the planner, the driver. You know, I had to plan every meal, where when we just joined a tour, we just got on the bus.
Isn't that great?
Got there, and somebody else handled all the details. And that meant we got to enjoy it. We didn't have all of that stress. So that's one of the key things for me. Like I said, being able to kind of share the experiences with other people, making new friends. I've noticed, especially when it comes to seniors or singles, it's wonderful because you can be traveling as a single, but you're not traveling alone.
And do you have older people taking their grandchildren, or, I mean, does that happen? Or?
It does. You know, it depends on the types of tours. Some tour companies are catering to that market, where it is grandparents taking their grandchildren on these adventures. You know, tour companies operate on every level, from student tours to adventure tours to senior tours, and everything in between. So it's not just one group of people that, you know, group tours are appropriate for.
So that's something people should look at.
Absolutely. And like I said, if you're traveling as a single, or, you know, getting a little older maybe, there's also just some inherent safety in traveling with a group. And even if you're, say, you know, a 20-something and you want to go on a trip around Europe, it's not always safe to do it alone. So
not anymore.
So there's some inherent safety with traveling with a group. Of like-minded travelers, and because you would have a guide with you or somebody to assist if there's an emergency or something doesn't go well. So there's a lot of huge benefits to traveling as part of a group. So one of the other big things you said, like, you know, how do you decide and what types of tours are there? One of the things I like to say now is that, you know, if 40 is the new 30, then, 70 is the new 50. It's totally different than what it was like years ago.
Yeah.
When I first started in this business, if you took, quote, a senior group to New York City, they tended to be kind of stuck by your side. It was a big, scary place, whereas now people just have more information. And today's seniors, they're so much more active
Right.
and adventurous. And just the technology alone.
Right.
So I find now that when I take that same age group of people to New York now, they've mapped out their favorite Food Network stars restaurant, and they know what they want to do. And it's just a completely different scenario. And that's something that tour companies have to pay attention to in order to kind of cater to this new group traveler. So, yeah. When you're looking at various tours or tour companies that you can travel with, there's definitely some big things that you need to look at. And for me, the most important thing is for everybody to realize that it's a very personal choice. There's not a one size fits all. So there's a few things that you want to look for when choosing the right company for you. More of like, what's the pace of the tour? Some companies like to take a stop and smell the roses approach. Kind of a less is more. You're seeing less, experiencing more. Other companies, it's all about making sure you check off all those little boxes if you're going somewhere. So your days may be longer or busier, but that's kind of what they're going for.
Right.
And like I said, it's your vacation, and one size doesn't fit all. So some people may want to shop until they drop, and others want to spend their whole day in a museum, and others just want to sit in a sidewalk cafe and people watch.
Right.
So, when you're looking at companies or you call a company and you want to ask some questions, maybe find out how long their typical days are. Another one is how many people are on the tour.
Yeah.
It's becoming more and more popular to have smaller and smaller group sizes.
Really?
Yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
That's great to hear.
Definitely a big trend. Again, getting rid of that preconceived notion that you're being packed onto a bus. So smaller groups, more specialty niche groups. You want to find out if there's any free time. Are you allowed to go out and do your own thing, or are you kind of with the group the whole time? Right. And then one of the other big things I always ask is, what happens if a trip is canceled? What's their policy?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's something that was kind of always there, but on the back burner. And when COVID hit, became a really big question. You want to know more about the company that you're booking with and about their policies. And we hope that doesn't happen again, but in the event that it does, what happens?
Sure.
The other big thing when deciding which company to choose is looking at the difference between the price, the cost, and the value. So kind of what's the real cost? And this is something I used to always look at when choosing trips with my dad and looking at all these different brochures. And it looks like the same itinerary, but one is so much less expensive. But you need to know, how many meals are you going to be paying for? Are you paying for transportation at all while you're on the tour? One trip that we did brought us to attractions, but we didn't realize that you then had to pay for the admission.
Oh, yeah.
So when you get to Waterford Crystal, for example, we got there, but unless we wanted to hang out in the parking lot, we had to pay again. So sometimes what you see in a brochure doesn't mean that's your final price or the value. What kind of meals are there? Are they good meals, or are they And
can you ask questions about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. If you're calling and you're looking at a tour and you say, this looks really good to me, and it says you visit this place, but does it mean it's included?
Great.
Find out if admissions are included. And like I said, one of the other things for me is, would it be something I would book on my own? I look at it and I say, well, if that isn't a hotel I would want to stay in on my own, I don't want to do it with a group either. So sometimes look at it and think, well, if you were staying in this landmark area or city, where would you want to stay? And find a company that's going to match that style.
Great.
Because some people are happy to pay for that big, kind of expensive, but fancier, or like I said, landmark hotel.
It's a vacation after all.
And others don't mind staying off the
Yeah.
beaten path to save a little money. So kind of just depends on what
Okay.
you're looking for. And then the other thing that I always say to people, and this is probably one of the most important, is just, safety and comfort are key.
Yeah.
So again, how many people are going to be on a bus or a plane or,
Right.
however you're moving around? Making sure that the company you're working with is reputable, and also any of their vendors. So if they're booking air or ferries, that kind of thing, just make sure that who they're booking is
Yeah.
reputable as well. I know in
That's a good point.
Yeah, I know in what I've done over the years, we've been asked, could you use a less expensive bus company? And it's like, no, you get what you pay for. And when it comes to safety, that's a big thing.
And it is, especially in air travel, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And hotels.
Yeah.
Again, you may save a little, but you might be in an area that maybe you shouldn't be in
Exactly.
when you're traveling alone. So those are also things. And of course, if you're with a group tour, are you going to have a guide with you the whole time? Are you going to have a tour director? Is it kind of hosted? Or if you're booking a trip, are you given, a map and you're renting a car and doing it
Right.
all on your own? So, which way do you want to travel?
Yeah.
And if you're part of a group tour, kind of a lot of that gray area is taken care of and handled for you. And like I said, it's just inherently a little bit safer. And for me, a lot more fun and
Right.
relaxing.
Sure. Sure. Mhm.
So those are kind of my tips and what I think you should check for and the questions that you should ask when you're looking at tours and tour companies.
That's really great because, I booked a travel when I was teaching abroad, and it was in Hungary, and I was wanting to go to Crete. And so I booked a travel, but I wasn't aware that the air company that you were using was a dilapidated, I was the only American on the plane,
Yeah.
and this plane didn't have, it had overhead luggage, but no doors.
Oh, yeah.
I have never ridden on anything like that
Yeah.
before, and I was worried the entire trip.
Yeah.
And several weeks after that happened, one of those planes crashed, and I thought, wow,
Yeah.
how awful, because you're absolutely right. You get what you pay for.
You do. Especially when it comes to the transportation, safety should come first. If a company isn't willing to tell you what bus company they use or what airline they're going to use, or, that should raise some red flags.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And like you say, how much out of pocket are you going to have to put
Right.
up? Because you need to plan for that.
Right.
It's not always, you're not always somewhere where there's an ATM machine so that you can get extra cash right quickly, or that your credit card is going to be okay. So
And
that's
it just
a problem.
adds up very quickly when you suddenly realize that really low brochure price didn't
Yeah.
include a lot of meals, and it didn't include, like I said, if you're stopping 2 or 3 times a day because you're in Ireland and you're seeing these amazing things, but every time you're paying $50, $80, $100 in order to have those experiences
Right.
and visit the attractions, that brochure price, you find out very, very quickly,
Yeah.
does
that's
not
a
match
good
the
thing.
cost, right?
That's right. So I'm gathering that one of the essential things we want viewers to be aware of is ask questions.
Absolutely.
Ask questions about any place that you're booking,
Mm-hmm.
any company you're booking with, and anything that you think has not been answered. Be sure that you know exactly what you're getting
Right.
before you sign
Never
on.
be afraid to ask questions. Get the answers and make sure it's the right fit. And I used to say that especially if you're traveling locally or with a smaller local company, test out a day tour first. Kind of try it out. It's like,
Nice.
I like to equate it to going out for coffee on a first date. You're not going for the full dinner. You're not committing to hours, Go out, test the waters, see
Right.
what the other travelers are like, kind of get the general vibe, because each company may have a different vibe.
Right. And probably, do companies give you, for example, if I wanted to call and find out how other people were enjoying the tour or whatever, do they give you names or?
No, I would assume, there aren't many companies that would do that, but you can always check TripAdvisor, Google reviews,
Okay.
Facebook. If they have a great Facebook page and you're seeing other travelers commenting or sharing pictures,
Right.
By all means, read those reviews and just see what people are saying. And like I said, you'll definitely get a better understanding of what the tour is like, whether it's a small local company or a big national company. You get a feel for what their product and what their
Right.
general tour is going to be. Like I said, if you're ever on a trip with me, it's about meeting people and having fun together. And I always like to say, if the tour hands us lemons, well, we get some sugar and make lemonade.
Right.
You just have to have fun and go with it. So you just want to make sure that the company's a right fit for you and your pace, and
Right.
that's kind of a key thing.
Right. And people have different choices. I mean, everybody decides, what they want out of traveling.
Right.
And I'm somebody who really likes a lot of history. So I want a guide who's going to give me a lot of detail about where I'm standing and who's been there and why it's important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to make sure that you have those local guides or local historians that are included, so that you're going to get that information. It's like I said, some people prefer museums and others want to shop. So
no shopping for me.
So you definitely just find the one that feels like it's the best fit for you.
Right.
And just remember to ask those questions, but really, have fun and enjoy it. That's the point of taking a group tour. You sit back and relax.
Right.
And enjoy.
And that, for me, that's the whole purpose of traveling, is to just enjoy what you're doing and to know that, you don't have to do anything but have fun.
Exactly. You just sit back and relax. And I learned that, like I said, as a passenger, my favorite times were when I got to sit back and relax and enjoy the whole experience and not be the one trying to plan and drive in foreign countries and it was just really nice when we had a chance to just experience it together and relax. So
that's exactly what I look for when I travel also, is to enjoy what I'm doing.
Right.
And I frequently do travel alone because my husband's not a traveler. And, it was either, okay, don't go or go alone. And so I learned to travel by myself and absolutely loved it. And loved the freedom that I had to make the choices that I had to go where I wanted to go. But I am realizing that time is coming to an end because I don't enjoy driving as much as I did. And certainly when I think about driving in the foreign countries I've driven in, I say, I don't know that I want to do that at this age,
No.
And things have changed, you know. I mean, there is just so much unrest in the countries, regardless of where I'm going now, that that's a problem.
Right.
So
there's some things to be concerned about, and even like I said, just getting through all of the COVID things, being working with a company and going on a group tour, like the people that I've traveled with, we were able to help them manage testing and masking and what you needed to do and what you needed to plan for, versus knowing some other friends and family members who had to navigate all of that on their own.
Exactly.
And what happens if this goes wrong or that. And this way, it's just, again, a really nice way to have somebody else there to kind of gently be holding your hand.
I do hope, viewers, that you have heard a lot of information. I certainly learned a tremendous amount from Kelly when she explained this to me. So I hope, and do we have contact, have we put her contact up on the screen where, yeah, great, that's wonderful. So you know that you can contact Kelly anytime you need to ask questions to her if you have any. And we thank you for being with us today. And also, Kelly, thank you so much
Thank you for having me.
offering this to us. And until the next time, dear viewers, be good, do good, be one.